And now for our second segment, absorption learning in a chaotic world. Before continuing, a definition. Absorption learning are two separate words formed in a compound structure, meaning there's a dash in between the two. Absorption learning. Online, they probably have a different definition from what I'm about to give. Absorption learning is just as it sounds, absorbing, not just using the brain and the memory apparatus and the analytical critical apparatus of the brain, but also the entire being, meaning your body, your senses, everything, and what you observe through those senses, whether eyes, ears, smell, whatever, or just sound, for the purpose of absorbing the entire experience and structure. So you're hearing something online, or you're hearing something in person, or visualizing something in person, hearing, experiencing, sort of similar to when you are around someone who is preparing food, or you're preparing it yourself. You take in the visual, if you have eyes to see. You take in the smell, the aroma, and you take in each step. So what you've just done there is absorbed the entire scenario, the experience, in addition to the process, so that now it's part of an entire complexity or complex within you. That is absorption learning. So you're taking control of the process, you're taking control of the experience, and realizing what you're doing with it and where it is going, if it is going anywhere. But, for example, when you consider so-called memory and storage and recall, it's going somewhere, and where that somewhere is, whether you consider it your cells of your brain or the cells of your very being itself, meaning from head to toe, brain to toe, that's great too. Whichever way you like to consider it, that's fine, as long as you realize it's absorbing and that you are controlling the absorption process. As opposed to when you do just simplistic learning or basic learning, it is structured according to a plan. It's structured according to how you are taught how to learn. So it has a series or steps in a process. That's fine for some things, for many things actually, but there's also a way to absorb and learn in addition. So you realize that you have more than just one avenue to knowledge. And there's the dog barking in the background, but this is okay. This is a podisode, and it is extemporaneous. And as I said in a previous podisode about the distractions that could be in the background, take this as training, how to focus in on something while at the same time realizing the experience going on around, for example, in your own world and in the world where I sit or stand. So there goes the dog again. I think the dog probably knows, or the owner of the dog might know, and they're listening in. Maybe they'll learn something, or maybe they'll realize that they have no impact. We continue on. So obviously, it can and is done every second of every hour all over this world, absorption learning. And it's done by people just like you and me under very chaotic conditions. You could compare the absorption learning process under chaotic conditions to working hard to eat healthily under trying circumstances, whether those trying circumstances are pollution in your world, and there's pollution in the world where we all live, obviously, or whether it's the energy, the non-conducive energy from those around you who don't support you, or who might be in a different avenue, in a different mode of eating, not necessarily the healthiest. So it compares to that. So you have a scenario of learning and you have a scenario of absorbing, and you bring them both together. What we do is find ways around obstacles, such as work commitments, non-conducive surroundings, as I mentioned, or less than adequate nutrition. That is also a distraction in the absorption learning process. If you are under trauma, such as poverty, temporarily or generational, it doesn't matter. These are ways that we overcome, these are scenarios that we overcome in the absorption learning process. Or sometimes the chaos is mental. We close out the problems of the world or our personal lives in order to focus and study. That's why I always say to student clients, turn off the news, take a break from the news if that is actually a distraction in your absorption learning. This doesn't just apply to formal students, though, in academic situations. This is all of us. I firmly think that we should obligate our mind to absorbing and learning at some point each day, no matter what we are contending with in life. I know people who study just for a few minutes each hour because they're undergoing medical therapy due to a chronic illness. All of this exemplifies what you heard me mention in the past or in past podosodes. When we create mental or physical spaces momentarily suitable to study, we are adapting. As my students know, adaptation is for the most part meant to be temporary. So think of adaptation as something that happens in life. And not just something, but scenarios that happen in life. We go through adaptation periods. Sometimes that period could be a lifetime. As my students know, as I mentioned, adaptation is for the most part temporary. When we study, we are not only increasing our own knowledge, we are, or we should be, working towards diminishing the chaos from this world. So in other words, even though we are doing what we're supposed to do with all that is going on around us, the purpose, the second-hand purpose or the indirect purpose is to bring this place into order, into a better shape while we do what we do. And we do that directly. So we're doing it twofold. As we absorb and learn, and in the absorption learning process, the context of what we're taking in should also apply to, okay, well, how do you change these various factors? Because they're not supposed to exist, meaning the chaos. These are challenges, yes, but challenges can get out of hand. No different than you have microorganisms in you that when they proliferate, they're definitely taking control of the situation that they're not supposed to take control of. However, you have an obligation to change that, to reverse that. And that's what we do here. Our outlook is meant to beam forward, not give in and not give up. Similarly, when we strive for, let's say, nutritional balance, most of us are faced with a variety of obstacles. Most of those obstacles are why we improve our thinking and bodies at the same time, because together or alone, the objective is to rid this place of the causes which force us into coping with chaos. We focus, study, share ideas with like minds and with those minds who are willing to unlearn so that we can replace these chaos fear-based empires with just societies, even if only for a time. And we do this incrementally. It's kind of like transitioning, as I said, someone's destructive way of living and eating into a mode that is logically intelligent, responsibly creative, and harmoniously respectful with and for all life. And you start with self-respect, of course. There's one other reason why we are obligated to continue absorption learning or absorbing and learning, and it is a selfless reason. It is so we can leave strong foundations behind for those who follow us once we've exited this plane. Truth plus foundational knowledge will be all that remains of our intellects once we transition. So in other words, what we take with us has to be and will be of substance. So that's the primary reason of absorption learning. And now we move on to the next segment. If you need to replay this segment again, feel free to do so. And now a moment to tell you about a cause that needs your help. Over the years, I not only help people, but I am also a friend to rescued animals. For the last 4 years, from my humble home in Central America, I've operated a cat rescue sanctuary. In some countries, it's safe to vaccinate, neuter, and release rescued cats back onto the streets. But in reality, it's only done because we need more caring people with loving homes to share. My rescue cat sanctuary is named after my own cat friend, PC. PC has been my travel buddy for nearly a decade. I want you to take this time to go to our resource page and select any of the funding links. Any amount you'd like to give helps with food, vaccines, travel to, and visits with a vet. There are not many cat competent vets where I live, unfortunately, but we found one who received her training in Germany. She too advocates for more people to get involved. Neutering your mascots helps them in the long run, so do what you can, do all you can. Thank you.